And my question for you is, how did this come into your awareness?
Once again, I'm always looking for answers, right? Because I'm looking to increase my energy, my strength. I mean, I'll give you an idea. I had a group follow me for 3 years. They measured me on stage, everything. I wore a $68,000 device that measures heart rate variability, everything you can imagine. They took my blood, they took my saliva, they checked my hormones. And then they did it to my audiences. And they found some interesting things, like I jump 1,000 times a day on stage and I weigh 285 pounds. So every time I come down,
Talk about that right here.
I'll come down, it's 4 times the body weight. So he said, Tony, that's 1,000 jumps times 1,000 pounds. That's 1,000,000 pounds of pressure in a single day, and you're doing 4 days in a row. When they did my bone mass, they couldn't believe it. They said, "This is humans. These are extraordinary athletes. This is something we never measured before. I'm 99.999% more than they've ever measured in a human." If you've ever been running with a friend and you get where you can't talk, that's because the lactic acid hits a 4. I'm at an 18 and still speaking, give you an idea. I have the same lean muscle mass as a defensive lineman in the NFL, right? I am burning 11,300 calories in a single day. I didn't think that was possible, but they followed me
How
for
much do
3
you
years.
eat?
Not enough during those days. I drop and then I got to go eat afterwards because I'm not eating. I'm just going 12 hours a day on the stage there. But to give you an idea, like I thought that was impossible, but chess players can burn 4,000 calories not moving. I burn 3,500 before I get on stage, to give you perspective.
Wow.
So in order to support all that, I do hyperbaric oxygen, I do cryotherapy, upstairs, I have all these devices here in my home. So I was in Australia and I knew I needed to get some hyperbaric oxygen. I needed to feed my nervous system that oxygen. I've been pushing so hard. And so I called this facility, said, great, I come over. And then they said, well, we're sorry, we're running a little late. Do you mind waiting in the meditation room? Sure. So I sit in the meditation room. It's kind of weird. I see these 4 computers with this code going across it. It's like, that's interesting. And so I'm sitting there and reading everything else. And I felt myself just starting to like, I was in there for only like 20 minutes. And I started feeling myself like just dropping down, like really like relaxed, but like more relaxed than I was ready for. And so I came out. I said, "What are those devices?" Oh, they said, "It's this EE system." And I said, "What is it?" They said, "Well, they tried to explain it to me. They weren't really good at explaining it. Or I wasn't good at understanding it. Maybe it was my fault." But I knew something about different types of waves electronically and what it does to the cells in the body. I've obviously studied some of that, so interesting. But I'm skeptical still. I thought, well, maybe I was just really tired, but felt profound. So I called my wife Sage and my trainer Billy and another member of my family, Mary, and I said, come over here and get a massage or something, but I want you to sit in this thing and just tell me what you experience. And everybody had this experience. So I got back, I called, and I said, explain to me how this works. They did. And I said, what's the biggest units you've got? Because I got to charge this body up, right? Because they're talking about charges, the electrical charges in the cells, recharges the body. And so I said, well, I have this room, this salt room I built. And it's where we do our massages and meditations and so forth. And I said, what's the most you've ever done? And at that point, it was 16. And so they put these 16, they built it in and it looked beautiful. And people come in and go, what the hell is this? And after a little period of time, you feel it. And then I'm talking to my buddy Dan, who's obsessed like I am. He's always looking for breakthroughs. He's a bodybuilder and a race car driver, and he has the Beverly Hills, center, rejuvenation center that he brings and takes all these celebrities and turns them around. And we both use exosomes, and we're just like we pitch and catch with each other. Fantastic, brilliant guy. And so he calls up, and he's an enthusiastic guy anyway, but he is so passionate. He goes, Tony, I've had this experience. And he goes, mom, 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 mom. And he starts describing this. I said, I think I have that. I said, I have a room of that.
As I said, do you realize what you've got? I go, let me tell you what this technology just did for my life. And so I told Sage my story, and she said, that's amazing. She goes, I didn't know.
I said, tell me about your experience. So he told me about a friend of his who had Parkinson's and how they went in for this session and felt better. And after 3 or 4 days, there was no tremor. Like, what? And he goes, and this other person, and he started telling stories. And some of it, but I know he's as skeptical as I am.
I was very skeptical. I'm sitting in this room with these computer screens, and I'm going, this just looks crazy. It really did not strike me as something that would really fix my problem. I can guarantee you that.
Because I know, Tony, it sounds absurd. He goes, but he's had this challenges, I'm sure I'll explain it to you, interview him, on his shoulders that are just brutal because he's just overlifted weights for years. And he's a race car driver. I mean, everything's pedal to the metal. It's a perfect metaphor for my friend.
About 13 years ago or so, I went into an orthopedic doc. I had such chronic shoulder pain, both shoulders just so bad that I couldn't sleep, and it got so bad. I thought I had severe tendonitis. So I go in, this guy takes an x-ray of my shoulders, and he said, sir, he goes, I've never even seen this level of damage. He goes, half your humerus bones are gone. He goes, I didn't even know you could damage shoulders this bad. And he goes, you're done. And I go, what do you mean I'm done? And he said, you're done with everything. Your racing is done. Your weight training is done. That's it. It's all got to stop.
And he goes, Tony, I went in there for 3 hours and I felt nothing. After all this buildup, he said, I felt nothing.
And I just didn't really feel a big difference the first time. I'd love to say it was just amazing right off the bat, but it wasn't.
So I thought, well, I've done too much damage, it's going to take something different than that. And he goes, then a few days later, I thought, what the hell? Some of the other people talked about going there and sleeping there.
I didn't have any solutions. I thought, well, I'm going to just try it again. What do I got to lose? I'm suffering so damn bad. So I came back the next day, 6 hours, and I walked out of that place pain-free. It was so amazing. I couldn't even believe it. I went home that night and slept through the night. I don't know what the hell's going on in that place, but I said, I haven't felt like this in 12, 13 years. My energy was phenomenal. And see, I had sleep deprivation too, so I felt so good. So I was going about once a week for 6 hours at a time, and it would knock me completely pain-free. And then eventually, after a few months, I got to the point where I was going 3 days without pain, and then eventually 4 days without pain. By month 8, I'm going a full week without pain now. Like, I'm going from 1 week to the next. I don't have shoulder pain anymore. It's knocked it completely out.